In episode number 218, we cover the very anticipated, very successful Pokemon Sun and Moon.
We also have our thoughts on Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. You guys know we're huge Harry Potter fans. Can't wait to share with you.
One of our comic book highlights is Vampire Hunter D, Message from Mars, #1 successful Kickstarter project. Nothing but success on this episode today.
All of this and so much more on today's show.
Hello and welcome to the Reasons I'm Broke podcast, bringing you the reasons we're broke every week, ranging from comics, movies, TV, video games, and more. I'm Daniel.
And I'm Kelly.
For any new listeners, every episode is someone's first. The way we format the show is first we cover some news, and then we end up with a comic book highlight or two of them this week. Usually DC Comics, although today we've got DC and Indie.
I want to start off the show, though, by saying happy holidays to everyone. We have officially kicked off the holiday season. Thanksgiving happened. This is actually Thanksgiving.
Well, Thanksgiving week.
Yes,
yeah, definitely.
Yes, happened. We got Black Friday. We got Cyber Monday coming up. And then we just jump right into all the rest of the holidays for the year. Craziest time of the year. Not looking forward to it. But I am kind of looking forward to it.
It is now acceptable to play holiday music.
No,
you can play Christmas
still not.
music
Wait
now.
till December 1st. But you can buy a Christmas tree. Post-Thanksgiving, you can purchase a Christmas tree, but wait till December 1st to play your holiday music.
How early is it to put up the Christmas lights on homes?
December 1st. You can... Most people actually will do it like Thanksgiving night.
Yep.
Yep, so we're going to see it sprouting up soon. I like to wait till December 1st. Let me get through Thanksgiving. As most brokeheads know, Daniel works retail. I work in food service. Once you hit the holidays, we never see each other.
It's a blur. And December is just simply a blur.
A blur, yes.
Although it's not as bad as when I used to work at a comic book shop and GameStop at the same time. That was just like, I don't even remember those years. This would be the second Thanksgiving this year that I have off.
That's
which
amazing.
is really weird. It's still bizarre. I feel like I should be at some place, not here.
I hit the lottery for Thanksgiving this year because my boss, he gave us a list. He's like, okay, here's the 4 big holidays. You got Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, and New Year's Day. Like, rank and order what you would want them off. And, I mean, there were a few more in there, like day after Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, things like that. So I picked, my first one was New Year's Eve. I wanted off. Always need to have that off. Second was Christmas morning. I wanted off. And the third was Thanksgiving Day. I just needed to throw in a third one. So he had me opening today and then gave us all a short day. So I got it at 12. I might as well have had the day off. And then Christmas, I don't go in till like 4. And then I have New Year's Eve night, I open again, so I'll be out early. I'm like, damn, I hit like the holiday jackpot this year. It will never happen again in my life. But this year, we're good.
We hope everyone had a really good Thanksgiving, and we're, of course, very thankful for all of our listeners, whether you back us on Patreon, whether you follow us on Twitter or Facebook, or if you simply tune into the podcast every week, wherever it may be, whatever app it may be. Thank you so much for tuning in and for supporting us every single week. And thanks for going this far. I mean, it's been since 2012.
Wow.
So thanks to you as well, Paul Kelli, for doing the show with me for 4 years.
You are welcome. And thank you for all you do for the show, all the behind the scenes, the editing, finding new programs for us to record on and figuring out how to work them.
This week is the first time we're using GarageBand 10, which is I've been running away from for probably 2 or 3 years because it's not podcaster friendly. They got rid of the podcast feature because Apple, I guess doesn't feel like they needed it anymore. And finally I was forced to upgrade to the new one because the old version had some bugs and glitches that I couldn't get rid of, as you heard last week. So hopefully this all goes well. I know editing is going to be a little bit slower on my end, so I do apologize to our Patreon backers who may not get it as early as they usually do, but they will still get it earlier than the rest of the listeners and brokeheads out there. So once again, we'll mention that later, but that's at patreon.com/thereasonsI'mbroke if you do want early access.
If you guys want, though, I can add some static sounds, throughout. I mean, if it makes you feel like you're really listening to
Get them used to it, yeah. Yeah, we won't have that anymore, thankfully, on this new program. So everything should go smoothly. I have tested this out a few times. But now let's go ahead and jump into our news for the week. And we have like 3 pieces of Nintendo stuff. First, I do want to say, and I do want to make all the listeners feel old for a sec, by letting you know that Super Smash Bros. Melee came out on the GameCube. It turned 15 years old this week.
Listen, nobody needs to hear this. Like those people talking about, what was that movie that just turned Beauty and the Beast is 25? I don't need to know that. I'm fine.
25, I believe, because Pokemon's 20 now. But
yep.
Smash Bros. Melee was a title that I hadn't been as excited for a game since Melee. Mm-hmm. That was probably the most excited I'd ever been. The first time I saw some screenshots was actually in Nintendo Power. Because remember, the internet wasn't really as accessible as it is now. There was no Twitter, there was no Facebook where you can immediately see all the videos.
No, but there's probably MySpace.
There might have been MySpace.
Oh, I'm sorry. Rabbit Trail. I'm sorry. I was just talking to my friend at work today, and we were talking about MySpace, and he says his proudest moment was he got a MySpace message from Emma Watson before she was famous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, right? She was like 12, and he lost it because MySpace is gone. Anyway, you were excited for this game.
Yeah, I saw screenshots on Nintendo Power, and my brother and I loved the first Smash Brothers. We used to go and play against other people, both as Fox, because that was the character we used. And then when Melee released, or rather when they announced it, he saw that they had Bowser in there, and I still had Fox, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to use Bowser. Look at this screenshot. We were theorizing what moves you could use from the screenshots that they had.
Nerds.
Yes, absolutely. That's how excited we were. Completely nerdy about Smash Brothers. It came out. He used Bowser for a little bit, but then he's like, it's not as good as what Fox used to be, or Bowser's not as strong as I thought. And eventually he found Falco, which is the first game that they put him in for Smash Brothers, and they have since kept him in, which has made him happy, because that's his guy, and Fox is mine. And again, that works because they're both on the Star Fox team. So 15 years, Smash Brothers Melee, the greatest Smash Brothers game of all time so far still. Huge congratulations, and hopefully we see some kind of re-release at the 20-year mark.
That'd be awesome. So moving on with some more Nintendo news, we, this last week, picked up Pokemon Sun and Moon.
How about that fucking midnight release?
Yeah. I didn't even think there was going to be one. And I was like, let me call on my way home. And I was like, hey, are you guys doing a midnight release for this? And they're like, yeah, we sure are. And then I was like, okay. Like, I was not expecting that answer.
Well, they've done midnight releases. GameStop has. That's where we had it pre-ordered for other Nintendo games in the past. But what I didn't understand and what I was surprised at was I pull up and my whole plan was, okay, I used to work at GameStop at this particular one too. And we used to get through fucking midnights by like 12:15, 12:20. At that point, we just kind of cleaned up for 15 minutes and maybe 1 or 2 people would show up. We would be open until 12:30 a.m. just in case. And that was just like us being generous for anyone that was late. And then we'd close up shop and that'd be done. These were midnights for Halo 3, for the latest Call of Duty, for Smash Brothers on the Wii U. The last Pokemon game, X and Y, I did the midnight for that. So these were the biggest ones out there. Massive. Call of Duty is fucking massive, especially. And we got through those bitches in 15, 10 minutes, sometimes sooner than that. So we pull up at 12:20. I'm like, oh shit, I don't know who runs this GameStop anymore or how they do it. But maybe they close up as soon as they finish the line. And we pull up and there's still a fucking line there, going way past the store and into the next couple of stores. And one of my friends, Scott, from Lazy Gaming Guys, he was still there. And I said, what's going on with this line? How, are these just more people that showed up? He said, no, this is still the line from before midnight.
That's crazy.
I'm like, was the line longer or are they slower? He said, no, they're slower. They're not as quick as you and the rest of the guys. Right. And I was like, oh shit, well, fucking my ego just grew some more. So now I'm like this pre-order midnight tough guy where I'm like, man, suddenly I became like this judge of midnight. I'm like, what they should have done is they should have gotten through all the people. You push them out,
you just grab behind the counter.
Damn, there's a new program now. I'm like, fuck that shit. I'm going to use the old program. I hack in and pull up the old one. It's still in the files. Boop. Who paid? You didn't pay yet? Get in the back of the fucking line. You're going to stand in that other fucking line. We're going to take care of the people that paid first.
Then you go, well, I didn't pay either, so let me pay before I ring you up.
That was the secret to success there is we would get through all of the people that paid first. And not just paid in full, but actually rang their transaction through before midnight so that it was technically sold. And once 12:01 hit, we can say, okay, you got your receipt, you went through, here's your game, see you later, bye. No register work. Just look at the receipt, mark it, here's your game, have a good night. Mm-hmm. And instead, they just did one long line of everyone. People that had paid it off, people that hadn't paid it off, people that brought in trade-ins. It was just one line, and that's not the way to do it.
No,
and,
of course not.
I'm clearly now like, these fucking midnights aren't as good as they used. I'm an old man of these midnights.
Coming in with your cane when I was your age.
But we got our game, and it was mainly because we didn't have any time the next day to pick up the game.
I still haven't. You know, you look on, like, when you save it, I'm only 2 hours into the game, and it's been out for how long? It was just, I mean, holidays, and...
I knew we weren't going to play it that night, either. I'm like, I just want to get it and not have to worry about it.
I was sleeping in the car while you were waiting on the line.
I was waiting for 30 minutes.
Well,
I was out there for a while.
I didn't feel it because I was asleep.
I was out there in that 60-degree weather, which is not cool or cold at all.
Okay.
But everyone else had their sweaters and jackets and pants and scarves. I was the tough guy again with the cold. Everyone else is a baby. This is the time of year where I'm the tough guy again. The one time of the year where I can be tough. Because Floridians, giant babies with their cold, giant babies with their jackets.
You know, I seem to remember coming home from work pretty late one night because I got out late and somebody was shivering in bed saying, oh, it's so cold, we need more blankets.
Well, and that's why I allowed extra blankets.
Okay,
all right. I allow this. I'm not a monster. You can have extra blankets at night because I know listen, maybe you sleep in boxers, maybe you sleep in the nude. You still need blankets.
Because you were cold.
At night, yeah. And this is why they're allowed it. Because if someone like me needs blankets, then they can also have blankets. Like, that's the barometer there. Like, up to Daniel levels, you don't want to go further than that. Because then you're a fucking weather baby. Anyone, Brocats from up north definitely agree with me. They're like, yeah, 60. I wish we had 60 degrees here.
Okay, well, I'm happy for all of you and getting used to your super cold. But I was born here, okay? And that 60-degree weather is cold. Thank you.
So you said you got about 2 hours of sun and moon time in. So how far did you actually get? What's your team look like right now?
I have a Rowlet, a Magnemite, and I don't even remember. I just caught like 4 things.
You caught a Ghastly, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
Makuhita?
Yes, and that thing.
I know your team better than you do.
And a Greninja, because you just watched me catch them.
2 seconds of watching you catch them, and I know your team better.
Yep.
You got Ash Greninja, you got your Munchlax. So anyone that does have Pokemon Sun and Moon right now, download the demo if you haven't yet. Beat it. We've been telling you for a few months now. And talk to Kukui, Professor Kukui.
No, stop. That's scary. What was his wife's name?
I don't know his wife's name. I don't remember.
No, it was that lady.
Your mom, I guess, right? Because Kukui just walks in.
No, who is that lady who goes around looking for her kids?
It's not his wife. You're talking about another Mexican folklore monster.
His wife.
It's La Llorona.
Yeah, her.
La Llorona is, for anyone that's not familiar, there's varieties. There's like an Aztec version, and then there's like a modern Mexican version, but someone whose children drowned in the river. And for the rest of this lady's days, she cried alongside the river looking for her kids, hoping that maybe they'd show up. And she did that for the rest of her life. And legend says that her ghost walks the night, still looking for her kids. You just hear this crying woman at night yelling for her kids and just crying. That's La Llorona. But that's not Kukui.
No, that's Kukui's wife.
Why is that his wife?
Because Kukui's the boogeyman. And then Kukui in the game is wearing a ring. So I was like, oh, I guess he was married. And then that's when you said that it was what's her name?
Well, we got to find La Llorona in the game now.
No, that's scary. I already have Kukui. I don't need the other lady.
But talk to Kukui in the demo. He will send over your items. He will send over Ash Greninja. And when you actually boot up your Pokemon Sun and Moon, these are pro tips. Because I know they're pro tips. I put this up on Tumblr, and it got reblogged a million times with people saying, what the fuck? What do you mean Munchlax? What are you talking about? And I'm thinking this is common knowledge. Like, I'm like, the true Pokemon fans know about this, but no, these people
You are Game Informer now.
Yeah, I am now Game Informer. And you got to go to Mystery Gift, Wireless Internet, and then Accept Gift. And then you will get the Munchlax at level 8 or 10. I think it's 5,
level 5.
Actually. Level 5.
Calm down. It's level 5. Because I'm trying to train him and he don't know shit.
Get that experience share and just level him up because eventually it's going to be that Snorlax. Comes with that exclusive Z-Ring.
Doesn't he wear like a hula skirt?
He doesn't wear a hula skirt, but that's what you wanted.
Yeah. Coconut bra and a hula skirt and a lei.
It gives him the pulverizing pancake, where he just sits on the other Pokemon, killing them, and an atomic bomb kills you and the other trainer as well.
You all die.
So do it at the end of the game.
What'd you do if you used it and then it said game over and like that was it?
That'd be amazing. That'd be like in Majora's Mask when the moon crashed on the Earth.
That's spooky. I don't like that game.
What do you think of it so far compared to Omega Ruby, Sapphire, and X and Y?
Well, I can't compare it to those because I didn't finish any of those games. Mm-hmm. But I can compare it to Yellow because I was just playing Yellow like literally last week. So here's my initial thoughts. This game is much easier than any of the previous games. So they give you that XP share, and everybody's just gaining XP. When your Pokemon fight somebody, they still get the full XP, and they double that XP for the rest of your party still gets that XP.
Right.
You also, when you catch something, you get XP for it. Hasn't ever happened. Or, I mean, it happened in the last game.
And X and Y, too.
Yeah, but you couldn't do that in the older games. So it is much easier. Your Pokemon are leveling up left and right. There's no level grinding for 8 hours, trying to get your $500 Magikarp to turn into a Gyarados, like I did. Other things that were easy, I felt like there was something else. Anyway, the thing that's frustrating for me is this isn't a game that you can play in small pieces. So Yellow, I could pick it up, fight a few Pokemon, close it, go on with my day. This, I pick it up, I have to go to trainer school, I gotta do all that bullshit before I can save it. Then I accidentally clicked on the little castle thing with my festival.
The festival, yeah.
And then that took like 30 minutes to get through that, and it's not something that you can pick up in small increments, at least not for me. With how busy we are and how much we work, I have like 10 minutes of my day where I'm like, okay, what can I get through, before I have to get ready and go to work. And this isn't a game where you can do that. So that's a little frustrating for me. I don't know. Nothing really beats the charm. It's a pretty game. Mm-hmm. There's not a redhead option, and that pissed me off.
Yeah, and there was an X and Y, which doesn't make sense.
No.
Because these are the same this is the same team that worked on X and Y.
Right. So I had to pick pink brown for my hair. People are going to call me pink brown hair.
When you pick white, wasn't there a white option?
No.
I've seen trainers with white hair.
Well,
there's got to be a white option.
Oh, there was a platinum blonde option.
That's probably it.
I'm not a platinum blonde.
You were just saying how cool that looks. That new style where young women are...
That's gray, not platinum blonde.
Me.
Okay, those are two different colors. Thank you. I saw somebody today, they had like gray and like light purple hair. It was really cool. Anyway, I digress. Nothing beats the charm of Yellow. And I know Yellow is like all pixelated, but I play it now and I'm still excited. This one I'm like, okay, don't want to go in the grass. I don't want to go in the grass. I don't want to fight anybody. I just want to get to my kahuna things. But then somebody's got to talk to me. Why'd they send me to trainer school? I've been catching Pokemon and battling Pokemon since 96. I don't need to go to no asshole trainer school.
It's for the experience points.
No.
Because you do need them.
I don't need to go to asshole trainer school where they teach me how to fight things.
It takes 3 battles. That's all it took. 3 battles.
It was 5 battles. Because I had to beat 4 asshole students and then the teacher, which should be illegal. I don't know why I had to fight her.
People have been saying on Twitter that there's tons of cutscenes in this latest game, that there's more in this than there were in the previous ones. Mm-hmm. And to you saying that you can't pick it up for every 10 minutes, I agree, but the nice thing we have now with the 3DS is you can close a mid-cutscene. And you didn't have that in the older games.
But I don't like doing that.
But you can do it, though.
Okay,
you have that
I understand
option. Because you don't like it doesn't mean...
But I don't like it, so I don't approve.
Is that woman logic? Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's how it works.
So that's what I do. Like, if I'm in the middle of a cutscene, I close the game, and I'm like, okay, well, I can come back to it later. Whereas in the older games, there weren't as many cutscenes, but you couldn't just close your Game Boy.
There were 0 cutscenes in Yellow.
0 cutscenes, so you can save anytime you wanted.
The only cutscene was when the SSN pulled away.
And then the credits. Those fucking credits lasted forever.
I loved when you got to Silver because you could speed up the credits.
Yes.
And I was like, finally.
And even now you can skip through all of them. If you hit like starred, you can go through all the credit. I do want to say though, anyone that's beaten the Elite Four already, I am jealous of all the time that you have in your life.
All the time.
Because holy shit. Like even at my local Pokemon League, there were people that said, yeah, I already beat the Elite Four. I'm doing this and this. And I'm thinking, what the fuck, man? You just got to be playing all night. And I understand though, because when I was a kid, I had the same type of just endless amount of time to do whatever.
You just stay up all night and play. Yeah.
And we've got jobs now, and we've got things to take care of around the house, and I've got the podcast, which I'm working on when you're not home. So there's just all kinds of other things and my regular job I'm doing outside of work also. But if you're just, if you don't work or if you're just a student right now, then yeah, you have plenty of time to, like, in between classes, get in some time. So I get it, but I'm still jealous.
I am super jealous. I have, some of my coworkers are downstairs playing in the break room, like on their breaks, and I'm like, oh, what's a break? Can I have one of those to play? But like, I have to do like real people things during my break. I can't just not do anything. Definitely jealous, but hey, I'm happy for you guys because now I can look stuff up online before. Mm-hmm. Like when I went to get my haircut, I like Googled like Pokemon Sun and Moon haircuts, and like I could figure out what I wanted before I spent $5,000 on this haircut.
Over some vague description of what it is.
It doesn't even give you a preview.
It doesn't give you a preview and doesn't give you the option to change your mind in case you don't like it. Mm-hmm. But $4,000, give me those.
Oh, that's right, because you didn't have to change your hair color. Mm-hmm. I had to change my hair color. Because
$5,000, right?
Yes, $5,000 for the stupid haircut and my hair color. I can't. I'm done. I'm done, Pokemon. And then I spent like another $2,000 on clothes. Because I didn't like my clothes. I need a new tank top and a new hat because my hat looked like fucking stupid. It was like seeing into me on my head. I didn't even know.
I will admit that the visuals are probably still the best out of all of them. I know in the past when we first got X and Y is when they transitioned fully into 3D games. And I was still whining about how I prefer the pixels, keep going with the pixels. At this point, I've let it go, and I've gotten used to the 3D models. But at this point, they're so improved from what we've gotten in the past that I love how interactive, like your little Rowlet looks. You were talking about Leer Attack earlier. Astonish. Where the attack is, the little Rowlet turns around and then quickly turns back around and stares at the opponent, and the opponent goes, ah, and like jumps backwards. And that's Astonish, just looks at him with blue steel from Zoolander.
So my Rowlet does.
Rowlet is the best.
He's so
I gotta say that. Like, it is one of the best starters of all fucking time. I love Rowlet. Love that thing. Whenever they make that plush available, fucking sold.
You know what plush they made?
Is it a Pikachu thing?
Yes.
Which Pikachu thing? Because they've made a million.
Pikachu Delibird.
Just in time for the holidays.
Which is a penguin Pokemon.
Fine. I admit defeat. I thought it was a rooster Pokemon.
No, why would it be a rooster?
Because it's red and white. I don't know. That's what roosters are. And there's a little bit of brown in them.
Have you never played the stupid game from Pokemon Stadium 2?
Yeah, I get it now. Like, it's like Santa Claus, right? He's got presents in the bag.
Like penguins.
Fine.
Thank you.
Fine.
Thank you. Don't doubt me again. We have some more things about how you doubted me too, and I was right, and we'll get to those in a little bit. So overall, would you recommend the game?
Of course. If you like Pokemon, you're going to like Pokemon Sun and Moon. There's plenty in there to keep everyone busy. All the new Pokemon are great. A lot of them I've really grown attached to, like Rowlet I was talking about earlier. But they also mix in a bunch of Gen 1s for any of the Gen 1ers out there. We haven't ran into much from Gold and Silver. Maybe Makuhito, though I think he might actually be from Ruby and Sapphire.
He is.
So we haven't ran into any Gold and Silver stuff yet. I'm still looking for Mimikyu. That is one of my favorite Pokemon of all time. If I knew about Mimikyu earlier, that'd be on my arm tattoo. So can't wait to catch Mimikyu, although you only get a 5% chance of actually running into it. Aside from that, it's a great title. It's different enough to anyone that says it's always the same thing, 8 badges. Well, they've kind of refreshed things a bit with the big kahunas and the trials, and the island setting for everything is really cool. So, yeah, you said it's much easier, but if you don't want it to be easier, you don't have to use experience share, just a heads up. You don't have to pet your Pokemon to make them give you more critical hits. But you can and make the game easier for yourself too. So anytime you have that option, it's awesome. If you're doing a Nuzlocke challenge especially, that's like super hard mode in Pokemon. So you can always do that if anything.
I will say the irony for us in this game. So Sun typically takes place in the afternoon and Moon takes place at night. But Daniel and I only play at night, so I'm playing in the daytime and he's playing at night in the game.
And I've got Sun and you've got Moon.
Yes.
And once again, I continue to the trend of owning the least popular of the two Pokemon games. And I don't do it intentionally at all. I just straight up asked you, and I said, which one do you want, Sun or Moon? You're like, I want Moon. I'm like, I kind of wanted Moon too, but fine, I'll get Sun. And then sales, like fucking 4 times as much, many people bought Moon than Sun.
See, and now aren't you happier? You could have gotten Moon, too. We didn't have to get opposite games.
Trend is going.
We didn't have to get opposite games.
I wanted to, though, because what if there's a Pokemon that you wanted that's only in Sun, then I can trade it for something that's in Moon?
Like Harambe?
Yes, if you want the Daylight Harambe.
But you want the nighttime Harambe.
I do.
So then we'll just trade, but I don't want Daylight Harambe. You need to catch me a Mimikyu.
If I catch 2 Mimikyus, I will definitely give you one, because one is going straight in my team.
I only want one. Your only Mimikyu. Do you want nighttime Harambe? Then I get your
I'd rather have Mimikyu than nighttime Harambe, honestly.
Poor Harambe. Nobody wants him.
That's still relevant, right? People are still making that joke?
Oh, hell yeah. People, what was it, 15,000 people voted for him to be our next president.
I think, and this is probably the first time I've ever even said Harambe in like a joking fashion. I don't know. I never got into that.
Really?
That meme thing. It was kind of fucked up, like what happened in that whole situation.
It was horrible.
People making jokes. I don't know.
People, Dan, you have never made a joke about something horrible that happens. You're like, but things that happen to people.
Yes.
Not defenseless animals.
I love animals. So you were talking about proving me wrong about something.
Yes.
Or something that you called, actually.
I did call it.
And yes, I did doubt you.
Yes,
but
you did.
This is not official yet. I do want to begin by saying that.
Oh, it's official because I called it.
Go for it.
So this is according to Eurogamer, who has reported from multiple, quote, reliable sources that Pokemon Sun and Moon will be ported to the Nintendo Switch. Like I called. I told you. You didn't believe me. Hashtag called it. Hashtag I'm always right. Hashtag stop doubting your wife.
Although not confirmed, it will be, supposedly it's codenamed Pokemon Stars, and it is set for a summer 2018 release.
Hashtag called it. Hashtag your wife's always right.
Does that make sense? Pokemon Stars, is that what you would call it?
Yes.
Or is it Eclipse?
Cool. No, because then people go, oh, is Edward going to be in there?
No one cares about Twilight anymore.
People care about Twilight, Dan, please.
No one's going to make that Eclipse joke.
Yes, they would. Stars is fine, because then you got Sun, Moon, and Stars.
Do you think they can sell this all over again, but for the Switch?
Yes.
What would they need to do, Kelly, for you to buy another version of this on the Switch? What would they need to add to the title to make it worth it?
Well, they would need to rename it first. It would have to be called Pokemon Yellow, and it would have to be 8-bit and have 8 gyms. Oh, no. You would have to take more pictures of Pokemon. In fact, that's the whole game, is just taking pictures. I think they would essentially just do what Crystal did. It's kind of a mix of the two games. You don't have, the exclusive Pokemon for one or the other. You have the ability to catch all of them. Same with all of the legendaries, you can get them. Maybe you change just a few things in the story. And like they did with Emerald. Who was the bad guys in Emerald?
I don't recall, but they usually fast forward a year or two, and then you kind of get to see the differences right after that.
So yeah, go ahead and do that. Or hell, make it completely new islands if they really wanted to. I don't think they would. That'd be a whole new game. But
all new legendary for Stars or whatever, Eclipse, whatever they end up calling it. And yeah, like you mentioned, they just really have to change very few things. Would you do a graphical upgrade since it's on an HD console?
They could. I don't know how much work that would take. I don't think they need to sell the game. Maybe add one more island. Throw that in there. What
kind of bonuses, if you already had Sun and Moon, if any, would you give players?
The biggest one would be being able to transfer your Pokemon easily. Maybe the ability to catch a different, brand new Pokemon. Surprise, you had this one. All right, you get this new Pokemon.
If this is true, and they do bring it out on the Switch, I'm still not too sure how they're going to make it work with only one screen. I get it at home. You're going to have the television and you're going to have the controller. That could be 1 and 2 screens. But they would, obviously they're going to adapt this to where it's only one screen. And I think I mentioned it a week or two ago that if they did this, they would have to make it so that you pull up the menu with the press of a button, as opposed to not having that second screen. But now that I actually play Sun and Moon, I can see how that second screen is not really hindering the game that much. It's not essential.
You don't need it, essentially. It's got your Rotom Pokédex, who's just annoying the shit out of me. He's always talking to me about something. I'm like, Rotom, I don't have time. I need to get through this stupid Pokemon school.
Wait till you get to later, because he finds Professor Ilium. Maybe it's not a professor. It's like the
Captain
leader.
Ilium.
Captain Ilium finds him attractive.
Stop.
Rotom has a hard-on for Ilium.
All right. Well, he can go hang out with Ilium. I'll just get my regular Pokédex back, please. Because he's always, making comments. And then we were talking about going to find something, and he's like, oh, let's go find these buildings. I'm like, Rotom, I've been playing Pokemon since 96. I can find these buildings. You don't need to give me like a little map of where to go. The fun in Sapphire was surfing around that damn ocean for literally 3 hours because I didn't know that I had to use dive.
That was the worst.
Yes.
Fuck, man.
And so Rotom just needs to let me make my own mistakes. Another
benefit from it being on the Switch is I've noticed when I went against the first Kahuna in the first trial, there was a huge slowdown in the game. When you go up against Gumshoe, what's his previous form? The Donald Trump-looking, weasel?
If you hadn't asked me, I could have told you.
The previous evolution to it, he calls up help, essentially. And when he goes over and you do your attack, it's almost as if you're playing online because the game, has to think and wait for, I guess, the opponent to choose an attack. I don't know how it works, but there's a huge slowdown in that aspect. So that's, one of the negative things.
I've noticed there has been some delays in the game.
More so than any of the previous, even X and Y, which was also in 3D. So I don't know if they just upped a lot of the textures. I'm not sure what they did, but it is definitely slowing down. And maybe they'll fix it with an update. Maybe they won't. But the Switch one has to be instantaneous. There's no way that huge processor is going to run slower with a 3DS port of it.
Right, I'm sure.
Keeping with the Nintendo Switch news, according to Let's Play Video Games, who have leaked reliable reports on the Nintendo Switch in the past, they're the ones that brought out that thing of it's going to have a screen on the controller, it's going to be portable. They did say that the launch of the Switch is going to include a new 3D Mario title and an enhanced version of Splatoon. That previously came out on the Wii U.
I don't doubt this. Although this is not confirmed by Bethesda, a port of Skyrim will also be among the launch titles.
People have been asking Bethesda left and right. There is clearly footage of Skyrim in that Nintendo Switch video. Is that going to be a launch title? Is that coming to the Switch? And they're like, we are not going to say anything, but we've got this holiday title over here coming out that you guys need to buy. It's coming out in December. So pay attention to that instead, because that's what they need to sell right now, is that title that's coming out, I think, on both consoles, PS4 and Xbox One, before they focus on anything with the Switch. It's all marketing. That's what it comes down to. So probably Skyrim will also be one of the launch titles, probably one of the bigger third-party support titles for the Switch. Another report said that we mentioned last week $250 for the Switch. For an extra $50, it comes bundled with Splatoon, which is that enhanced version. So you can get Splatoon for $60 separately, or save $10 if you're going to get Splatoon anyway. And get it bundled.
I mean, makes sense. You might as well just do that.
I'm sure the first of many bundles that they're going to be announcing.
Oh, yeah. Sticking with the video games, but moving into some Injustice news, Ed Boon, the creative director at NetherRealm Studios, recently put out a Twitter poll in which he asked gamers if they'd like to see Watchmen characters in Injustice 2.
This sounds familiar. When we were first talking about Injustice 2 years ago, we were talking about the DLC, how great the DLC was. We bought into all of that shit.
Oh, yeah.
Great characters.
Back when we had time and lives.
A little bit of extra money.
Yeah.
We talked about what characters we wanted to see as DLC back with the first Injustice. And we had talked about Martian Manhunter, which they eventually put in there. I had mentioned Swamp Thing. Also mentioned Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And how cool Manhattan would have been. Who knows if they'll do it. And this poll right here essentially confirms that they are going to do Watchmen and Injustice 2, because after 20,056 votes, 74% of people on Twitter said yes.
Of course they did. So Watchmen creator Alan Moore left on terrible terms with DC Comics / Warner Brothers and never wanted further adaptations, merchandise, movies, or products associated with any of his works. Too bad.
Many years ago, because since then they've done the Before Watchmen series, the Watchmen movie, which he despised. They've done a Rorschach toaster, in which they put the Rorschach face on toast.
Stop it. I need this. Why don't I own this?
Watchmen coloring book. Just the worst possible things. Like, here you go, Alan Moore. Like, you can't do anything because we own this.
Do they mail it to him every time they make something new? I hope so.
Oh, that'd be so fucking mean. Poor Alan Moore. Like, I know he's a little nuts, but poor Alan Moore. Yeah, Watchmen in the Injustice video game universe, it makes sense. We have the Watchmen universe with the Rebirth universe all as one. And I saw one comment on Twitter that said, that doesn't make sense. The Watchmen and DC universe don't really go together. And someone said, you have not read DC Rebirth.
Clearly not.
And his Nerd Rage reaction was, oh, so DC fucked up their universe some more. And I said, yeah, they fucked it up so badly that they're at the top of comic book sales.
Exactly.
So I gotta ask you, Kelly, are we gonna see Batman versus Dr. Manhattan first in Injustice 2 or in DC Rebirth in the comic books?
Ooh, probably an Injustice 2 first.
Now, there is a huge summer event coming up with DC next year. And Jeff Johns, I believe, or Dan DiDio, one of the two, said that we are going to start seeing Watchmen things next month start leaking into the DC universe.
I just don't think that Batman's going to fight him right away.
He has to. I want to see him fucking fight Manhattan. I want to see it.
He'll probably fight him at some time.
He's got to.
But he's definitely going to, like, super fight him more in Injustice 2.
Oh, yeah. And I tweeted to Ed Boon, and I said, well, if you put Dr. Manhattan in it, it's an auto win against whoever he fights against, unless it's Batman.
Yeah.
Because then, I mean, he loses. It's Batman.
Yeah.
Well, would he lose to Ozymandias too, though? Because Ozymandias did technically beat him by proving to him that this was the best route in the movie.
I mean, he beat him, but he didn't beat him in hand-to-hand combat. Like, this is Batman fighting him.
So Batman would win in hand-to-hand combat?
And Manhattan has to lose because that's what the universe wants.
Man, I'm just curious how Batman would beat Manhattan. I'm sure he'd lace his gloves with something reducing.
Yeah, or he'd have some electro something. Or he'd pull out his old ex-girlfriend with cancer.
Well, I know this probably won't happen, Kelly, but Naked Manhattan DLC skins.
Stop, that's not going to happen. We're not going to see his Dingle flying around that game. But if they do, then they need to have a shirtless Batman, too.
If we have boob physics in games, we need to have Dingle physics, too, if you're going to do fucking Manhattan.
Listen. Men play video games more, which is why there's boob physics. They're not going to put Dingle physics in
but
there.
If I find it funny, there's no way other guys aren't like, that'd be kind of funny.
I'm sure, but
put in a Naked Manhattan.
But like the mass majority, no. They're not putting in Dingle bits.
Man, it's could have been the first time.
I'm sorry you don't get to play
as Naked Manhattan. That's the only way to play as Dr. Manhattan.
Naked or no go? Is that what it is?
No, please put him in there. I don't care how you put him. So on to Cartoon Network, Kids Network now, because it's natural right here. Justice League Action finally has a North American debut date of December 16th.
It will air as a 4-part special event, followed by a regular airing of Saturday mornings beginning on December 24th, a Christmas present for us all.
UK Brokettes, listen up, you get the show early on November 26th, airing on Cartoon Network UK. Let me tell you, we don't have cable. We can't afford that. We can't afford a cable box or cable.
Who can afford anything these days?
Someone over 40. I don't know. I can't.
No.
So when I go to my parents' house, when I visit them, I always check to see, because that's the DVR right there, where anything that we can't watch on Hulu or Netflix, I record it on their DVR, and they watch it as well. So every time I go there, I ask my sister, hey, is Justice League Action on there yet? And it's still never on there. And I'm like, what the fuck? I thought it was supposed to come out in November or sometime this year. What's going on? It was funny because I kept looking JLA, Justice League Action. I'm thinking, what do they name this thing? Maybe it's something like Cartoon Networks or Warner Brothers Justice League.
Right.
I'm missing it somehow. I'm missing episodes. And I looked on YouTube. There was nothing out yet. But we haven't missed anything, Kelly. We're still going to get our Kevin Conroy.
Awesome.
We're still going to get our Mark Hamill.
Woo.
And everyone else.
Now, let me ask you, can you watch these on the internet if you don't have cable?
They might be on CartoonNetwork.com.
So then we just plug it into the TV.
Yeah, we could actually do that now. Yep, absolutely.
So we need to catch up on The Flash and Supergirl. What the hell are we doing?
Well, that's what my coworker Alex has been telling me. He said, you have no excuse to not watch these because they're on CW. And I said, okay, fine. Are all of the episodes on CW.com, or do they only put them up for like 3 weeks? And he looked and he said, well, the first 2 episodes are up, and then like the 7th is up. And I said, well, fuck that shit. Like, I can't, I'm not going to watch the first 2 and then, well, I'm just going to wait. That's the weird thing about these websites is they don't put up the whole season. And I understand why, because they want you to buy the episode on iTunes or watch it on the networks where they have ad placements. But fuck, man, put ads, load that shit up with ads and give me all the episodes.
Make it all ads and just a few minutes of episode. We're fine.
Totally fine with it. I mean, I'm not paying for cable. I'll watch it. I'm paying for internet. I'll watch it on there.
So moving into some comic book news, the fantasy series from Image Comics, Rat Queens, will be returning March 2017 with an all-new #1 and artist.
Man, this series has gone through some fucking trouble. Holy shit. But the fans are steadfast. They're still there. They're not going anywhere. It was a great
series.
A lot of fun. So writer, co-creator Curtis J. Wiebe will continue the series with artist/colorist Owen Gianni, who previously has done Manifest Destiny.
We have a quote here. Quote, "Our new start with Rat Queens is getting back to the basics. 4 friends who kill monsters for money, except it's even weirder." End quote. This came from Wiebe, who told us to Newsarama.
So Rat Queens originally released in 2013 with a sporadic schedule, as previous artist Rock Upchurch had to leave the title following a domestic violence arrest.
That was huge. I remember when that happened. It was all over the place. But the company did good, got rid of him.
Yeah, and even the writer said he was, remember we read his long letter to the fans in which he wasn't shitting on the artist either, but he also wasn't apologizing for him.
Right.
It was like the perfect, I remember we were like, this is the gold standard of PR right here. This fucking letter of don't shit on him, don't condemn him, but we still have the series.
No, that was definitely a good way to go, because if he had shit all over him, that would have looked bad on him for the rest of the career, throwing people under the bus. But Tess Fowler took over the book as the 3rd artist, but had to put her work on hiatus after allegations that she was being pushed out for Upchurch's eventual return.
What a shitstorm that would have been.
Yes.
If this is true. Image Comics denies ever planning to bring back Rock Upchurch. Imagine that backlash. The fans love the artwork, clearly. It was hailed as some of the best in indie comics, but to support an artist at the same time that did go under domestic abuse allegations and was charged for it, I mean, that's a can of worms you don't want to open.
Oh,
so
absolutely not.
I know if I were Image Comics, sure, give them future work and something else later on, but to put them right back on the exact same book, you're really gambling there. Really gambling.
I definitely don't think that's something that they would do. That'd be too big of a risk, because you could potentially lose a lot of people for that.
Would the artist really lie, though? This 3rd artist, and saying that she was being pushed out because they wanted to bring back this other one?
That may have been what she felt or what she heard. You know, it could have been put on hold for any number of reasons that the higher-ups didn't share with her. And then she could have heard through the grapevine, oh yeah, I hear they're doing this for this reason. You know how people talk and stories get skewed. So, I mean, that's always a possibility that that's what she heard from. Or maybe they had her put it out there to see what fans would do.
I think doing a new number 1 as a soft relaunch is a smart move.
Yeah.
They already said that the continuity is continuing, so this is not a reboot. If you have been reading Rat Queens, they're going to wrap that up nicely in another volume. And then they'll do an all-new number 1. What was it? Next year is when they're coming out with this? Sometime next year, yeah. March 2017. So it's smart. Get your artwork, get everything back in line, refocus on the title, and continue.
So moving on with our comic news, Boom Studios, DC Comics, and 20th Century Fox are teaming up for an all-new 6-issue miniseries crossover titled, I hope you're all sitting down, because really, Planet of the Apes / Green Lantern.
Look, Kelly, this is not aimed at younger readers.
Clearly not.
Planet of the Apes. People grew up with that.
Never seen it.
That's why you're not excited.
Don't care.
I've seen Planet of the Apes. It's fine. This I may pick up, but it's not for me either.
Is Green Lantern going to fit in that world?
They fucking did it with Star Trek.
Yeah, but that works because they're all in space.
Well, with Planet of the Apes, they could also go into the future somehow, because that's the whole thing. You've never seen it, but in the movie, there's astronauts that go up into space, and they hit some kind of warp in which they think they're transported into a planet where apes rule that particular world. They're like, holy shit, man. And then the big twist at the end, and I'm not even going to say spoiler alert, because this movie is fucking old as shit. At the very twist is that he's been on Earth all along. That this is the future. And apes have taken over the planet. And that was the big reveal.
I don't know, maybe because I didn't see the movie, I just don't get it. I don't see how these two fit together.
As I mentioned, it's definitely at an older readership that they're aiming this for. I do have a quote here from Boom Studios editor-in-chief Matt Gagnon, who said, "We've been having endless amounts of fun collaborating with our friends at DC Entertainment, and this new crossover only ups the ante. Both Planet of the Apes and Green Lantern boast decades of entertaining stories and dozens of fan-favorite characters."
Well, I'm glad they're having fun. They have done a lot of great stuff.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying seeing all these team-ups. You would never see Marvel do this.
Or Batman TMNT. Like, that was the huge one. I was like, what the fuck? Or Justice League and Power Rangers.
So exciting. But this is set to come out February 2017.
So that wraps up our comic book news for the week. We still have our 2 comic book highlights coming up and our review of Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. But first, our Patreon shoutouts of this week.
Patreon shoutout of the week.
So real quick update on the Patreon. We are $12 away from goal number 3.
That's awesome.
So goal number 3 is going to be the full website revamp along with all new t-shirt designs and pretty much having an e-commerce site as well as more of an interactive player on the website itself. It won't just be one page. We'll actually have different components to it. And that's all thanks to all of our Patreon backers. This week we've got Eric at eAntonOfficial and Brian at BrianSchaup1.
Thank you guys so much for your support. Every little bit helps. That's how we got our Auphonic, so that my voice sounds normal and not as magnificent as it is, because your ears could not handle it. It's the trouble of being a Palpa Kelli.
There you go. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's it.
If you do want to back us for as little as $1 a month, that's $0.25 per episode, head on over to patreon.com/thereasonsimBroke, and you too can get your monthly shout out once again for just $1.
Of course, guys, our podcast will always be free. The best thing you can do for us is talk to us on Twitter, let your friends know about us, leave us an iTunes review. We're actually up to 23 reviews now.
Yes.
So at least 23 people listen to us.
23 reviews on iTunes. That's not even counting Stitcher or anything else. So by the end of the year, Brokettes, I want to get to 25 reviews.
That's not aiming high enough, Dan.
30
really?
Reviews is what I meant to
50
say.
50 reviews.
No, 30. We got to be realistic too.
if we get to 50 reviews, everyone gets a free comic book. We will mail all of you free comic books. If we get to 50.
By the end of December?
Yes. By December 31st, if we have 50 reviews, we will mail all of you a free comic book.
Jesus Christ.
I didn't say what the book was, Dan.
That's still like, okay, fine.
If we go... I'm just saying the people who commented get a free book. So we find the quarter books, Dan. But we'll sign them.
Otherwise, 30 reviews. Is that what we're saying realistically? 30 reviews by the end of the year.
30 reviews.
30
but
reviews,
50
we're
gets
at
you free
23
comic
on
books.
iTunes. And the reason we want these reviews on iTunes is it pushes us up on the charts. So if you saw one of the screenshots I took and posted earlier on the Pokemon podcast charts, we are moving up on that.
What number
Same
are
with DC Comics. They don't really have them numbered. You just kind of have to count, I guess, physically. But we are moving up on that chart. And what gets us there...
page 1 at least?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah!
What gets us there are reviews, subscriptions, but definitely reviews. So it just takes 2 minutes. Leave us a review on iTunes. It's much easier, actually, to leave us a review on iTunes than it is on Stitcher. Because on Stitcher, you need to confirm your email and all this other stuff. So please do that. It'll definitely help us out. 23 reviews right now. Let's see if we can get to 30 by the end of the year. And with Patreon, we are at $38 out of $50 for goal number 3. So let's see if we can get a little bit closer to that by the end of 2016.
Here we go. I have a better prize for if we get to 50 reviews. All 50 of those people will get a comic book. Now, it's going to be a quarter comic book. I'm not going to spend a lot.
How about 50 centers? We'll do a 50-cent comic book.
No, because I'm going to put more time into these, okay? So it's going to be a quarter comic book, but I'm going to rewrite it for you. I will take some white out over the word bubbles, and I will rewrite this book for you.
Do you have the time for this?
I will find the time for this. No, I don't. So you may not get this for a year. But if we get to 50 reviews, you will get a specialty handwritten Kelli comic book from the 25-cent book bin. I promise they will all have love stories in them.
All right, then.
I think this is
she
great.
She made this promise. I did. It's on record.
It's out there. I put it out there.
And we also want to thank fandomfi.com for the help at the $5 tier for all of our decals for all of our Patreon brokettes that do support us at $5 and more.
Thank you guys so much for your continued support and just for listening to the show.
We're going to leave the review for Fantastic Beasts at the very end of the episode in case you do want to see it because it is going to be a spoiler review. So that'll be the very final thing. But first, we've got our 2 comic book highlights. First one being on the indie side. First
one is Vampire Hunter... Oh, you can't see my face. Vampire Hunter D, Message from Mars, #1. Daniel put the D with the little colon after it, so it was the big smile face. Or no, what is he, a frowny face?
Yeah, a big frowny face.
Unhappy face. So that's what I've been calling it, is Vampire Hunter. Insert my face making that face.
So this is written by Brandon Easton with art and colors by Michael Brosart.
This is a mini-series that was originally a Kickstarter campaign that raised $107 $1,000 and $25 is in there too. 107.
She's not a banker.
107.25.
$107,025
and $25. Anyway, to adapt the horrible thing is I work with money all day long too. So this was to adapt an unpublished short story by Vampire Hunter D writer Hideyuki Kikuchi.
There you go. I
said it.
You had never seen Vampire Hunter D Bloodlust. You hadn't had any experience, I think, with the manga or any of that.
No, you just told me it was a vampire and a love story, so I read it.
And there was a love story in there.
There was.
So tell us what you thought of Vampire Hunter D, the return of Vampire Hunter D.
Yeah, it was cool. I didn't like his Krang in his hand.
The demon, his possessed hand?
No, it's Krang.
Why is it Krang?
Because it looks like Krang. Look at it. Look at it. Where's the book? Look at it. That's Krang. In his hand.
I guess it does.
It looks like Krang. I didn't like him. My mind wandered off to places. What is what does he do with that guy in his hand?
I don't think D masturbates.
Look, there's too many possibilities. Okay. But it was cool. It had a love story. I liked the intro. It got me hooked, even though I knew nothing about these characters. That redheaded lady, she was badass, seeing the future and stuff. And then, her man at the end, I was like, oh, who's this man? Cooler than before.
That's one thing that this book doesn't do, and I don't blame it. This isn't a fault against it, but it doesn't explain exactly what D is or what the backstory is. Mm-hmm. That's because this story is for people that back the Kickstarter, that already know Vampire Hunter D. But I felt like you still got enough information where you more or less know somewhat what's happening. Did you pick up at all, and this is me asking you, did you pick up at all that D is a vampire hunter that's also a vampire?
Yes, because he's white. You can see him on the thing. He's like my color. That just means vampire.
Okay, so that's basically all you fucking need to know.
Well, I didn't know where Krang came from in his hand.
That's true. That they didn't explain at all, but I had to kind of tell you later that, well, he's caught this, it's a demon, but
so is that why his name's D? Because he's Vampire Hunter Demon?
I guess so. I honestly don't know why they titled it that.
I would then name him Vampire Hunter DH for Demon Hand.
Or Demon... Well, no, it wouldn't be Demon Hunter. Yeah, Demon Hand.
Yeah. Or I could... Vampire Hunter Demon Hunter? That's too long, Dan. Okay. Or I would name him Vampire Hunter Krang. Because he got Krang in his hand. Okay. I mean, there's many more names. Or, I mean, is his real name Damien? Or Dimitri? Vampire Hunter Dimitri?
I don't remember. Yeah, I really don't remember. But what caught me was the title, Message from Mars. I'm like, what the fuck? There was never any space things in Bloodlust.
Oh, now there is. But they tied it in well with, shit going on Earth. Yeah, it just works. People were like, fuck Earth, peace out. And took their little spaceships to Mars. And then, Earth erupted in nuclear war and created vampires.
And D is his name. That's what it was. And I remember.
Oh, it's really D?
That's just his name, D.
No. No, that's not his name.
Artwork looks amazing.
Beautiful
Kickstarter project.
Yeah.
I missed it. I totally did not see that this was a comic. Otherwise, I would have backed it. But I'm glad I actually did catch it. And that's from Stranger Comics Publishing. So it's super indie. This is one of 5 issues. They're $3.99. You don't get many ads because, again, it is a Kickstarter project. And you do get a huge thanks on the back and a bit of a story. Oh, there it fucking is right there. The story of Vampire Hunter D, the history of Vampire Hunter D. So something that I missed out completely and you didn't read it. But if you are new,
his lady? Flip the page.
If you are new to the series, they've got that right there. Yeah, this is the manga. That's the... Oh, shit, what is this?
I don't know.
The original cult classic, digitally remastered Vampire Hunter D. See, I saw the one that was called Bloodlust, so this doesn't look familiar to me. There's an old school manga. This is manga. This is definitely a manga cover here that they used for the Blu-ray. But if this is the original, fuck yeah, I'm going to fucking buy it on Blu-ray. It's not a great movie. It's not going to change cinema, but it's
romance?
a fucking... There's a little bit of romance there.
A little bit? Or
some girl falls for D and...
Well, yeah, he's a vampire. Women always fall for vampires, and they always kill us in the end. But we keep doing it.
He's like, no way.
Is that what he does?
Well, his big thing is hunting.
He's got his Krang hand, so he's fine.
I guess the romance at the end is that he's dying, and she's like, well, you need your strength, please, just... eat me or whatever, drink me, whatever the fuck. I don't know. It's vampire weird shit. I don't know.
Drink my blood. Okay.
Drink my blood. And so he does, and she doesn't die, and he can fight again. So because of her, he's able to defeat the bad guy.
But he still doesn't love her.
I don't know. It's Vampire Hunter D. He doesn't express much emotion.
You need to pay more attention to the romance in these things so I can determine if it's worth my time.
We'll watch it and you can determine if there's romance. I'm not good at reading the fucking romance.
What if it wasn't worth my time then?
She was happy. I know she's happy that she's like, oh, I'm dying for him because I love him. And then she's happy because she lives on top of that. All works out in the end.
Can I tell you, I mean, speaking about romance, so I was watching, what was it, Apollo 13, where they go up there and they blow up the asteroid?
Never seen it.
Right?
Is that Armageddon? Is that what you're thinking of?
Oh, yeah, Armageddon. Whatever. It's some spacey movie. Okay.
I have not seen Apollo 13, but I know Tom Hanks is not blowing up asteroids. You don't hire Tom Hanks to blow up asteroids.
Oh, speaking of Tom Hanks, I'm sorry, I'm jumping around. Did you see he got that peace medal or something from Obama?
No, I know Ellen DeGeneres did.
Yeah, well, Tom Hanks got one too. And so then they were doing a parallel because, what's his name? He got one in the movie, Forrest Gump.
From the president. Also, right?
And then he's getting one in real life from the president. And people were like, look at it! And they did side-by-side photos. Anyway, so I was watching Armageddon with my dad. I was watching the end of it, right? And Liv Tyler's man is going to go get blowed up, right?
Yeah.
You've seen that movie, yes?
Yes, and then Bruce Willis
is like, no, I'll do it because you love her or whatever. And I'm sitting there and I'm watching it. And, granted, I was watching it with my parents, right? And I was like, well, why did he choose to get blown up? And my dad's like, well, because he loved his daughter and her daughter loved this man. I was like, yeah, but what if they don't work out? There's true. More men, but there's only one of your dad. Why wouldn't... And my dad's like, well, they were fucking. So, I mean, my dad didn't use those words, right? He's like, well, they were fucking. And I'm like, well, she can do that with other people.
Because sex, yeah.
She only has one dad. And were they engaged? And then it got into, well, would you choose your dad over your husband? And I'm like... But they're not married.
I think that was the thing, though. Before he flew up, he asked her to marry him, and she said yes. But yeah, you're right. It's not a guarantee.
No, it's not. They could still break up. She's only got one dad. She could find other men.
Plus, Affleck was willing to die, remember? He's like, no, I'm going to fucking blow this shit up.
Yeah. Anyway, I was very frustrated. I had to leave after that. I'm like, this is not a good movie anymore.
I mean, it was a no-win situation either way, because if he let her... boyfriend, or I guess at that point her fiance, go up, then she would have been sad all her life because she lost this guy, but she still had her dad.
But she could have met another man.
And then at this point, now she is happy that her fiance came back to her, but now she doesn't have her dad. It's a lose-lose.
Listen, I was unhappy with the outcome.
I didn't like that movie anyway.
Okay, well.
Apollo 13 I may enjoy, I don't know. But Armageddon I wasn't crazy about. Mainly because of that Aerosmith song playing all over the goddamn place back in the 90s. Was that the 90s?
I don't know.
2000s? Whatever the fuck.
Can I tell you that I'm listening to early 2000s music on my Pandora, right? 2000s pop? Summer hits of the 2000s or something like that. And all these, I'm like, yeah, these are great. We sang about real things back then. We weren't singing about anything.
The music was worse back then.
No, I loved it.
It was worse in terms of lyrics. Because people like to pretend that music nowadays is shit. They just sing about this. Okay, look at the top 40s from the 2000s and look at the top 40s now. It is significantly better.
Yeah.
Significantly better. If you were to say that there's no good music now, you're not digging. You're only listening to the top 40s. There's good music.
You're not digging
all
it.
Eras.
That's what I thought you were going to say. You're not digging
You're
it.
not digging it.
What are you even saying? Well, listen, I enjoy my Fergalicious.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I forgot about Fergalicious. God damn it.
I think that needs to be our new podcast song. Brokalicious definition. Things I cannot afford.
We got one comic to get through, Kelly. Superman number 11.
I know what I'm playing on the way to your parents later. Superman number 11. This is written by Peter J. Tomasi and Pat Gleason, with art by Pat Gleason, and the colorist is John Calise.
So the reason we picked this, we like to pick new number one so that you know if you want to buy a title, but we can't suck Superman's dick enough, like in this comic. This comic is amazing.
That Superman can't suck Batman's dick enough.
Yeah, but that's exactly why we chose this book. This issue confirms.
Yes.
This confirms it right here.
Confirmed.
You've been hearing us talk about years about Superman loves Batman, Superman's in love with Batman, and now this is pre-New 52 Superman, and clearly he is in a more stable, established relationship with Batman than the one that died.
Or at least he thinks he is.
I don't know how Batman trusts him this much, by the way. Like, at the end of the comic, when they're talking about making plans about dinner, Batman should still be like, you're still not the Superman that I've worked with for the last 3 years. Forget that. The whole point of DC Rebirth was to bring back old Superman. We got old Superman. This issue is Superman thinking he's raising kids with Batman.
Yep.
That is what's
He
happening.
calls them our sons.
Yes, he does. He does. He invites him to dinner as a one family. It never mentions Lois.
No?
Never mentions her at all.
No.
He is in the happiest place he can be right now. And this is two dads, Batman and Superman, a couple in Superman's mind, raising their two kids. And Superman is the worried mom. He is the worried mom.
Oh, I think this was too much for them. Batman's like, hold on.
We need to end this, Batman. Just wait. It was just him being a little worrywart. And, like, were we too hard on them? Like, that's what's coming next. There's no way that doesn't happen in issue 12. And I love it. It's perfect.
I loved when they were fighting that big challenge at the end. And Jonathan's all like, they have our dads. Like, he's feeling it, too. And then Damien's like, they have Alfred. And I'm like, yeah, that's right. Save Alfred.
So Superman's still like, we got to get Damien used to it still. To having two dads.
Just refer to us as dads more often.
So quick summary of this. It's just Batman and Superman trying to get the kids to work together because this is a prelude to Super Sons releasing next year.
And Super
Excellent
Sons is
issue.
going to be great if
Can't
this is
wait.
what we're getting. It's fantastic.
All right, Brokettes, next is our review for Fantastic Beasts and where to find them. If you don't want any spoilers, thank you so much for tuning into episode number 218. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Reasons I'm Broke, Facebook.com/The Reasons I'm Broke. But to link for all of these, head on over to TheReasonsI'mBroke.com.
You can also follow me on Twitter at Kelli. I have 43 followers.
You went up? Holy shit. You had 41 last time I checked.
I have 41 followers. I didn't check. I did post something the other day, though.
Good.
I think I just posted #called it because we found out about stars.
Gotta check it more often, Kelly.
Listen,
I definitely have tweeted you since then.
With what time?
I tweeted you Pikachu things.
Right.
I tweeted you Pikachu
tweeted?
things.
You also texted it to me because you are smart. You know that you cannot just tweet it to me.
Smart husband.
Listen, at least I answer my phone. Many women do not.
Oh, that's a pet
Okay.
peeve. Like when my mom...
Yeah. My mom...
Is that our parents?
Yeah.
Just...
I called my mom 3 times the other day and she didn't answer. I'm like, I could have been dying, Mom. She's like, well, you know to call your father if you are. I'm like, this is accurate. I even called Mom, or I called Dad and I was like, hey, are you with Mom? And he's like, no, are you trying to reach her? I'm like, yeah, I called her. And he's like, and she didn't answer, right? I'm like, yeah. He's like, call your brother. He's like, okay. Look, I'm checking the Twitter right now. Oh, Catwoman, no way. Cool.
That was days ago.
No, that was 1 day ago. Calm down.
Well, at the time they listen to this, it's days ago.
Okay. You talked about me being ready for Sun and Moon. I saw it. I just didn't do anything about it.
You got a favorite.
No,
You
I
got
liked it and I retweeted.
Keep going up. There's Pikachu things. I'm going to start
There's
talking
no Pikachu
about.
things. Look,
I could have sworn I mentioned you, and keep going up. Keep going up. There you go. Right there.
Oh.
Click on that tweet and then scroll up.
You can do that?
Yes.
It's a Harley Quinn. That's not even Pikachu.
Oh, well, you want that too. But...
Yeah, I do. That's really cool. Can you get that for me? Can that be my holiday present?
I think it's $35.
It's
$40.
only $35. You stop this.
Custom made.
Oh, it's from the UK though.
Has the UK price gone down since Brexit? Is that a...
Is that a thing? That's super cute. Danny, I need this. Except the sleeveys are in different colors.
She's looking at a Harley Quinn sport jacket.
Yeah.
Custom made from Etsy. You're all about Etsy, and I knew you'd love this.
It's bitchin'. Size. What's my size?
Those do run small, though. Just a heads up.
So I should get a
from
medium.
What I've seen from reviews, yeah. We need to talk about this movie.
Do I want a back print or no back print?
Back says Harley on it.
Do I want that?
We're not sponsored by Etsy.
Well, let's just see with none.
Go through the gallery and go and swirl it around. I think you should have with the print.
Okay.
I'm going to start talking about Fantastic
That's
Beasts.
fine. You talk about them. I'm going to order my Harley jacket.
This is, to anyone that's not familiar with the Harry Potter universe and what this book was, it was a shorter novel, not necessarily a part of the Harry Potter installment, but it was more like a regular, I think it was like 100 years before even Harry Potter happened.
Really?
I called him Ganondorf.
Gandalf?
Fucking...
You called him Ganondorf?
Yes. Gandalf would have been closer. Shit.
Jesus.
Dumbledore. I don't know where I got G from. Dumbledore is definitely an older wizard This is the story that's expanded. So this is all a screenplay written by J.K. Rowling, the author of Harry Potter, and she's extending this shit to, what do we say, 5, 6 movies? Five movies. Whereas it was originally 3. And this first installment, it's still the same director, David Yates, from the last couple of Harry Potter movies. He's directed more Harry Potter movies than anyone else. The third movie, Prisoner of Azkaban, which is my favorite, had Alfonso Cuarón. Still my favorite of the Harry Potter movies. Still my favorite directed. Best pacing. He never returned to the series due to the time he was taken away from his family. But he said he was always open to returning to the series. They never called him, and recently with Fantastic Beasts, they asked Alfonso, well, would you come back to one of these 5 movies? And he said, yes, they haven't invited me. They haven't called me.
Aww,
so now I'm on this little tirade like, get this guy.
Is he sick? Like, get him.
That directed the best of the Harry Potter movies, who actually had the highest box office for the Harry Potter movies. Get him to come back. You guys want money? You guys want money, right?
You want this to be successful, right?
Make a better sequel, because honestly, okay, let's go into the review now for this first movie.
Was that everything that came out of the case?
Directed really well.
Mm-hmm.
It looks great. It's shot well. The negatives I'm going to go into, because there's more negatives than positives in my opinion.
Yeah.
There's some strong acting there. There's some weak acting too, mainly from Newt. I don't know the actor's name. I never bought that he was this character. I always just saw him as acting. And that's really weird, because when you're an actor and you're trying to work in quirks into your character and the audience notices, at least I noticed it, it takes me out of the experience, because I know you're just acting. Whereas everyone else seemed way more natural in their role. Colin Farrell as Graves.
Yeah, he
completely
was great.
Believed it. There was nothing out of the norm. Didn't try to overplay it too much. So there's some strong parts to it too. Ezra Miller as Credence.
Credence.
Excellent too. Another great performance. I don't know. The main character of Newt kind of took me out, because I didn't have that anchor in the story.
Johnny Depp as himself.
We did say spoilers. We did say you were warned. Brokettes, yes. Johnny Depp appears at the very beginning of the film. You see the back of his head. And then at the very end of it, we'll get to that in a second. The special effects that I wanted to mention, there's scenes, magical creatures, fantastic beasts, if you will, where you see the actors interacting with a CGI thing. The issue is, Warner Brothers, you have the money. Make a puppet, and I think they did it with Azkaban, in which they had the CGI hippogriff, where you had the wide shots. And then when you had Harry petting it, they built a puppet of a head. And that's all they needed, because the shot was going to be cut anyway.
Right.
Of Daniel Radcliffe petting the hippogriff. And then the rest of it was CGI again. Mm-hmm. That works. What they did in this is they had, what I'm assuming is someone, in a green suit that was like, okay, I'm the hippogriff, like pet this, or whatever the creature was, the Thunderbird, pet this, and we're going to put in the CGI over it later. But it looked, I don't know if you got it too, but I was looking straight into it, and I'm like, this, at some points his hand is hovering into the
right.
CGI.
It doesn't look like it's touching, yeah.
And sometimes his hand would go too far, so they would digitally move his hand back, and you noticed it. So it looked really fake when he's petting the Thunderbird, because it's not there already because of the CGI, but on top of that, he doesn't have anything physical that he's touching when he's interacting with all these beasts. So that really took me out of the experience. I don't know I understand that puppets are expensive. It's your Warner Brothers thing, you know? It looks way better. And I don't care if it looks new or it's there because it's not CGI. It just doesn't look right. You see the feathers and they're not ruffling through his fingers like you would. And I know CGI is not there yet, which is why you fucking do the puppets. Spend the extra money, maybe a tiny bit less on marketing, whatever the fuck, wherever you need that budget to pull from. Get some of that Batman v Superman money, put it in this. Make some puppets.
Right. Yeah, definitely. The biggest problem I had with this movie, I think, was the pacing. And they didn't make me care for a single character. I
cared about the big guy.
Jacob?
And his lady friend.
I mean, I cared about them a little bit, but not enough to, be upset, like really upset at the end. Mm-hmm. Like that scene should have made me cry. I was upset when the little green guy was getting taken away.
Little Groot?
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, fuck you, Newt.
Newt was giving little Groot to Ron Perlman.
Yeah.
In exchange for whatever the fuck. I don't know.
Information.
Yeah.
On the invisible guru sloth.
Pacing issue. Yeah, that was the worst part of it. But the pacing was, especially if you're not familiar with the story, they don't take their time in introducing these characters to you. They don't make it clear that this is all the movie's really going to be, is just catching the Pokemon in the Muggle universe.
They made a movie for people who had already read the story.
Right.
That's what they did, and not for... And granted, yes, they're going to make a lot of money off of that, because all those people are going to go see the movie. But if you can do like Harry Potter did, and make a movie for people who have never read it to still enjoy...
Which you cared. And you jumped in at like number 5 or something.
Yeah, I did it. My first Harry Potter... I think I saw the very first one when it was out in theaters. I went with my cousin. I don't remember a lot of it. But yeah, I jumped in at like number 5. And, I really started watching with 6 and 7. And I was on board, like, from the very beginning. I knew a little bit about their backstories. But I didn't have to read the books. I didn't really have to see the previous movies. I could still enjoy that movie for what it was and the story it told. You can't do that, really, with this movie. I was reading an article, somebody was a huge Harry Potter nerd in their office, and, they said, okay, so you've read this one article, it was BuzzFeed or something, I don't think it was BuzzFeed, but of my coworker who loved the movie. Now, the Harry Potter movie, I'm going to tell you why Newt is the stupidest character in this entire thing.
Yeah, there's tons of that shit right now.
And he's like, why did he come on a boat? Why didn't he just use string to tie the case shut in the first place if that's all it took to fix it, Why did he not erase this guy's memories from the beginning? He had all this opportunity to, and,
there's tons of those issues. Newt's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I don't relate to Newt at all. And they've already said that Newt's not going to be the main guy in the future movies. I don't know if that was planned or not. They did say this before the movie came out, so I believe it. But they definitely need someone, I don't think they have it yet, someone to really be the face of Fantastic Beasts. I don't think it's Newt. And I don't know, maybe audiences felt differently. Maybe Broquette saw it and they're like, no, I really enjoyed the character. That's fine, but it seems like a lot of people aren't really relating to Newt in general, aside from the readers.
Right. I really disliked the romance between him and what's-her-name.
I don't remember her name either. Yeah, I don't remember most of their names.
I don't. I really, really dislike that romance.
The romantic interest, yeah.
She was a bitch. She was horrible. She didn't even hear his side of things. She just said, you're wrong, and I'm going to turn you in for it. Almost got him killed. Almost got herself killed, and then at the end, he still liked her. And I'm like, there was that point in the movie where her sister's talking to him, and, about his previous love, and saying, she was a taker, you need somebody who's a giver, and then they look at the romantic interest, and I'm like, what has she given? She hasn't given anything.
Her time, Kelli.
And I thought maybe by the end of the movie we would see something, but she really didn't do anything. She was
not likable.
No,
I agree.
Except she caught a roach in a teapot. I mean, good for her.
That's pretty awesome, though.
I guess. I don't know. I didn't buy a lot of stuff in that movie.
The main story was Ezra Miller and Graves, and the whole plan was to start a war between Muggles and Wizards, because Wizards are the superior ones in the eyes of Graves, or Grindelwald in that case. They're saying we shouldn't be hiding from Muggles. We should instead be taking over their plane of their world, because they are weaker than us. They don't have magic. They're Muggles. We view them as less. We can't marry them. That's law, right? That they said they can't be married to them. So they view them as lesser than wizards, but the law says, no, we should protect them, we should stay away from them, let's keep a peace between the two. And Grindelwald is trying to spark that war between those two things, because he knows, and he says so, he says, it's not us protecting them, or it's not us being protected from them, it's really us protecting the Muggles, because we would overrun them.
Right.
We've got magic. So I thought that was more interesting than catching beasts throughout the movie.
It was, yeah.
Way more interesting. And Ezra Miller being one of the most powerful wizards in recent memory, because he was able to control the Obscurus, whatever they ended up calling it. Like, holy, can we spend more time with that shit than watching these beasts? Like, I understand that's the cinematic thing. You got to have the fireworks and all that in your movie, but that was probably the hook, and it was with the villains, if anything, with the victims of this movie.
Yeah, that part was really cool. I will say a little predictable. Because
yeah, you called it. Like,
I did.
Less than halfway through.
Yeah, because I was like, oh, this is what it really is. I started to put the pieces together the moment they walked out of that room with the senator. So I called and said it was a little girl is what I was guessing. But even before they revealed him, I was starting to think that maybe it was him. I just didn't want to call it and be wrong. Because, I just didn't. But I was starting to think that. So that was a little predictable, but still really good. I mean, it made a lot of sense. Like, when I started to figure out was when they said that lady hated him more than the others. That's when I was like, oh, well, I mean, that would make a lot of sense.
And it's never a bad thing when you can guess, like, oh, well, that's probably what it is. Because it's still, you see it play out.
Right.
And that's the best part.
Right. And so it was really cool to get that reveal at the end and for him to be like, I'm gonna fuck you up now because you're still an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that, yes, I would have liked to see us focus on that more. And maybe if they had just had a movie of Johnny Depp and this man, I mean, not really Johnny Depp, and we got rid of Newt altogether, that would have been fine.
I will say Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them is the weakest of the Harry Potter movies, if you want to count it as a Harry Potter movie. It's definitely different, so I think it's unfair to compare them to the Harry Potter movies, but even as a regular movie, a fantasy movie, I don't think it's very strong.
I mean, even from a storytelling perspective, it's much weaker than the Harry Potter movies.
Let's talk about the end with Johnny Depp.
Listen, why did he even know to, like, use that Reveliamus or whatever?
David Bowie? Was
yes,
it?
David Bowie. Okay, so they capture this man, right? And then he uses his Reveliamus or whatever it's called. I don't even know what it is. How do you know to use that?
Because he started taking out these wizards left and right. And he said, no, this guy's more than what he's letting on.
Did he say
he's
that?
Not
because
just...
I didn't pick that up anywhere in the movie. Did he even hint at that?
You see him like staring at him as he's taking out these wizards.
I saw him staring at everything through that whole movie. Mostly the ground.
That's all he fucking did.
Mostly the ground.
That's true. He's just hunched over and stared at the ground. That's what I'm talking about, though, with the acting shit.
Yeah.
Like, don't fucking try to overdo it. Just do your fucking role. Just do it.
I wanted him to move up in the army and become a commander, so we could call him Commander because it's Commander.
But that's what they hinted at, is that he saw the way he was fighting, and he's like, okay, this isn't just General Graves, or whatever the fuck his name is, Graves. Did he even know him before that?
No.
They didn't make that clear. They didn't say yes or no. I don't know. Maybe he knew him before that. This isn't just some wizard fucking senator or whatever they called him. Yeah, he used the Revelius, and you see Johnny Depp as David Bowie.
With two weird color eyes, gained
and
some weight.
David Bowie hair.
Like 20 more pounds.
That's the one thing that was off, yeah. I mean, he's getting old. He's fucking old. Come on.
I mean, I get that, but I saw Johnny Depp. I did not see another character.
His little white mustache, his little blonde mustache.
I saw Johnny Depp. That was it. And, I mean, that's what we expected.
I will give Johnny Depp this. He had 2 lines in that whole little role at the very end. He was playing straight. He just played it straight. Like, yeah, he looks goofy as shit, but he played it straight. He didn't try to do anything weird like Jack Sparrow-y.
He wasn't doing a little dance or anything?
Nothing. He just played it straight villain, and I'm like, all right, this might still be saved.
How many takes did it take for that? Johnny, just say your lines, Johnny. Just say. Starts tap dancing, Johnny. Just say your line.
That was the fucking worst in Alice in Wonderland. When he starts tap dancing and break dancing and his fucking head spins, I'm like, fuck, man. Jesus Christ. And that's when I told because my brother was still on the Johnny Depp bandwagon. Yeah. And I'm like, no, man.
I had fallen off by then.
No, and then he did that shit, and I looked over at my brother, and he's like, like he himself was like, all right. I'm probably not going to see any more of these.
He finishes his line, and they're like, oh, we made it. And then he's got to say something like, now bring me that horizon. Johnny, no!
So I don't know what to tell you, bro cats. It's my least favorite of the Harry Potter films. If you read Fantastic Beasts, you may enjoy it. I can't tell you for sure because I didn't read it.
I didn't read it either.
Again, the cinematography is nice. They did a nice job with that. The special effects aren't as strong when they're interacting with the beasts. David Yates, he still does his Harry Potter thing. It still looks very magical. There's some nice angles in there. But from a story perspective, from some of the acting in there, that's probably the weakest portion of it. And again, the weakest entry in the Harry Potter franchise. I can't be so mean to call it a bad movie. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie at all. It's not great. It's just middle of the road.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if you find a dollar theater cool, I've heard a lot of people at work say that they really enjoyed it, and you may see it and enjoy it too.
It's charming.
Yeah, it just didn't have enough to pull me in and really keep me. Granted, it was almost 2 hours.
Yeah,
it didn't feel like a 2-hour movie to me.
It dragged a little bit for me. Near the beginning, which is the weird part. Because I'm like, fuck, that's the pacing issue right there. In the beginning, it dragged. Once you got to the point where Jacob met his lady friend, then it started to pick up a little bit because I was interested in them. Yeah. But, middle of the road. Not something we'll get on Blu-ray. So there you go, listeners. That's episode number 128. Jesus. We're not that far back.
We went back in time.
218.
218.
218. And again, it being the week of Thanksgiving, or at least the tail end of it, huge thanks to all of our listeners for the constant support, for following us, for interacting with us on Twitter. Once again, be sure to, if we can, let's try to hit 30 reviews on iTunes. And
if we hit 50, I will give you all comic books that I've written myself.
That's right.
With other people's art.
So 27 more reviews.
Yeah.
And you get custom comic books for everyone that left us a review on iTunes.
By Kelli.
By Kelli. And if you left us a review on iTunes in the past, you count. So thank you.
Yes.
Huge thanks. Once again, follow us on Twitter at ReasonsI'mBroke, at Kelli. You can find the link at thereasonsI'mbroke.com. Also for patreon.com/thereasonsI'mbroke for just $1 a month.
So that will do it for us this week, Brokettes. Again, thank you so much. I'm Kelli.
And I'm Daniel.
We'll see you next week. Why'd you put his Dingle out there?
It's just the gift that I found.
You typed in Dr. Manhattan with Dingle. That's how you found that gift.